52 hours, 53 hours into the fast. Oh, and this is a great time to talk about one of the biggest obstacles that we face to fasting. And actually, one of the biggest obstacles we face to reversing diabetes and also our metabolic syndromes, our high blood pressure and cholesterol and obesity and polycystic ovarian syndrome and all the things that we talk about that are on the metabolic spectrum, and that is sugar. That's right. That's the thing. That's the thing that we love to hate, and we seem to love it more than we hate it. That's what we're talking about tonight. And we're talking about how sugar impacts our metabolism, how it affects us, and what part fasting can play in helping us break that addiction and reverse our diabetes. Hey, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We are living a limitless life, and limitless living says that we are breaking free from all of the boundaries, all of the obstacles we're going through. We're presenting our best self, our best health, and our best life. We're not allowing anything from inside of us or anything from outside to prevent us from doing what we need to do to be metabolically successful. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes and get off of their medications, who want to improve their metabolic health. If you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments, because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that I am happy that you are here. If you're new and you have questions, go ahead and put those in the comments as well, because I'd love to get to those and answer those questions for you as we move throughout our episode tonight. I'm excited. I'm excited because I am at right now, what did I say? 53 hours into this week's fast. And it's been an interesting week. It's been an interesting fast. And we'll talk more about that as we move through the episode tonight. If you're fasting, let me say this. If you're fasting right now, go ahead and put say fasting in the comments. I'd love to know if you are fasting. I see some of our community members out there. Go ahead and put fasting right now. If you are coming out of a fast, go ahead and put out. And then if you're thinking about going into a fast, put in. So fasting, coming out of a fast, out, and going into a fast, in, right? One of three things. Drop those in the comments, because I'd love to welcome you and to see where you are as you're moving through this space. I am in the process of my 72-hour fast for this week. As you know, we do a 72-hour fast once a week, and I am 53 hours into this one. Just a little bit more to go. I'm two-thirds of the way in. And I've had an amazing time. And how do I say this? So we talked about cravings, right? We talked about food noise in our last episode. And I think this conversation comes well on the heels of food noise. Because I've never, ever in all of my practice, as I've talked to patients and I've talked to clients, I've never had anybody say to me that, you know what, I had a craving, and the craving was for salad, or the craving was for broccoli, or the craving was for green beans. But I sure have had people say to me, man, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I drove across town to the grocery store to get some chocolate, to get some donuts, to get some ice cream, to get some candy, some cookies, some cake, right? So we are inundated on all sides with sugar, and it is a big player in our metabolism. And we're going to talk about fasting and how it relates to sugar. So as you're joining me, you're like, what are we doing? What are we doing here in this space? We are working to reverse diabetes. Pause. We're working to reverse diabetes. We are on a path, limitless living. That's the path that we're on. How do we reverse diabetes? What are the tools that we need to do or need to use to be able to do that process? And what is the pathway? right? So that's what we do on our main show, Dwain Woode MD Live. We talk about the pathway that we're going. Right now, we are walking through a mini series on the domains of health. Our physical domain, emotional domain, mental domain, and this past one we talked about our spiritual. So all of those things fit into what causes us to buffer. Buffering, those are the behaviors that we do. Those are the behaviors that we get into that push us in a direction metabolically and in terms of our behavior that we don't want. That's why people eat as a buffer. That's why we use alcohol as a buffer. We use addictive substances as a buffer. We become hypersexual as a buffer. We gamble as a buffer, right? So all those things are buffers because they are the body, they are the mind, they are what we do when we are trying to avoid feeling something, trying to get out of feeling something, or trying to block something from getting to us, some emotion. So we buffer. And so all of the things that we do in terms of buffering, they are driven by the domains of health. And you think of the domains kind of like a wheel, right? And if that wheel is going and it's smooth, then everything is working well, right? So you're moving. But imagine a bleb on that wheel, and one of the tires gets flat, and the car is going like this, right? It's no longer a smooth ride. And that's what happens when one of our domains of health, that's what happens when one of our domains is off. Then the entire system is at risk. And so on our main show, we're walking through right now the mini-series on the domains of health, but talking about the limitless living journey that we're on. And in that journey, we have many tools that we've been using. One of them is balanced bites. The other is what we're doing right now. We're fasting. And so each week we do a fast. I do a 72-hour fast, and we have lots of community members that are out there that do various types of fast, intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day fasting, alternate day fasting, 5 and 2 fasting, time restrictive eating, 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, like we're doing. In fact, on our show, we've done a 96-hour fast. And actually 1 week, I think we did a 106-hour fast. Okay? So all of those are tools that we're using that sets us up for the best possibility of success, because the tools that we're using hit the pillars, and there are 3 pillars to reversing diabetes: decreasing insulin, suppressing the appetite, and reducing sugar, right? And so tonight we're talking about sugar, the sugar part. All right. So before we get there, though, let's take a look at a few things, because you know how we do. We're going to take a look at my blood sugars. I've got let's just hop over and do that. Let's hop over and do that right now. And this is what my blood sugar is. This is my Dexcom G7. And you'll see there it says that my blood sugar right now is 65. And down below, you'll see it says replace sensor. The sensor is going to go out here in just maybe another hour or so. I was hoping it was going out earlier so that I can actually do the change here. I may still do that just so that we can see that process. Okay, but that's what my blood sugar is right now, and I am a little over 53 hours now into the fast for this week. So about a little over 2/3 of the way in. So that's what my blood sugar is. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute, because I want to hop over and take a look at and look at that. The Libre and the Dexcom are giving me the same number, right? They're giving me the same number. That is odd, not odd, but it is not common, because they will fluctuate from each other. And then we're going to hop over and we're going to see what my Contour and my Keto Moja meters are saying as well, and we compare those. Many of you have asked me about the differences that you see in your glucose meters, and as you know, there is meters are allowed to be about 20% different from each other. Okay, and that still be considered within the range. So if you get a blood sugar of 100 on 1 meter, then you can, if you check that same drop of blood onto another meter, it can be anywhere from 80 to 100, 80 to 120, and that's still considered within the range of that blood sugar. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's grab. All right, so this is my little container. I've got some strips in here. So the brown one is the blood sugar strip for the Keto Mojo. Blue is for ketones. I'm going to grab a lancet. And then for the contour, let's go ahead and just grab a strip. And I've said before that the contour is the meter I use in the office. And so we have those, and that's what I use here. You may use a different meter, right? So there are lots of meters on the market. One of the other ones that we used for a while, they have they've kind of changed how it works, and so hence we went to a different meter. So let's go ahead and open this up. If I can, ooh, there you go. That one's a little tough to get into. All right, so this is my this is the blood sugar meter for the Keto Mojo, and I'm gonna go ahead while I'm here open up the strip for the ketones as well. Man, I'm not sure what's going on. I think my fingers are a little slippery. I think that's what you see right there, by the way. All right, so let's go ahead and let's grab this, and I use a lancet that I simply inject my finger with. I get to decide how deep I want it to go, and if I'm not careful, I'll go too shallow. It won't be deep enough, and I won't get a brisk drop of blood. And I'm hoping that, okay, this one is hurting a little bit, so I'm hoping that that's, well, let's see. Yep, there we go. See how briskly that came out? Oh, that's awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and get this on. We'll see what these are showing. Let me get this back up on the screen for comparison. So 63 is what this contour says, 65 for the Keto Mojo, and 64 right there for the Libre. So let's go ahead and grab this one out, get my ketone strip in, and then get that going because I don't want this drop of blood to dry. And of course, go ahead and drop into the comments, what do you think my ketones are going to be? What do you think they're going to be at 53 hours? Of course, I'm not going to let you see what that result is right now, right? I know. I tease you guys. All right, so let's hop over and let's say hello. I do see some of our community members out there, so I want to say hi. And let's see. And I see Gian out there. She says, hi, doctor. Great to see you again. She says, hi, Wood Gang. That's right. Hello. Hi, Wood Gang. Glad that you're here, Gian. She says, wow, doctor, 53 hours in the fast. Yeah, this is, this is a 53. Just 53 hours in. And we'll do our check-in here in just a minute. She says, I am 22 hours in the fast now. Okay, so Gian is there. And then Bowie says, hello, everyone. Good job, Gian. That's right. Very good job. Hi, Bowie. I have cravings after I eat my meal, even after I eat a full meal. But I want sugary desserts right after my meal. Yeah. Yep. It is a thing. So here's a question. What is alternate day fasting? And so alternate day fasting is where you fast every other day, right? So you fast, it's basically a 24-hour fast every other day. So you fast on Sunday, you eat on Monday. Fast on Tuesday, eat on Wednesday. Fast on Thursday, eat on Friday. Fast on Saturday, eat on Sunday, right? So it's alternate day. Every other day you do a different meal. Or every other day you change your eating. So eating window and fasting window. And Gian says she thinks that my ketones are going to be 2.0, so I'm going to go ahead and star that one. We'll come back to it. Bowie says alternative day is 36 hours. Well, no, it's a 24-hour period. So you're alternating the days. Gio says, thank you. Dr. Wood, are you still trying to lose weight or maintain weight at this point? You look like you are already at your goal. Oh man, Bowie, I'm gonna give you a hand clap for that. Just for saying that. So I am so I've been maintaining this year, right? So if you guys remember when we was it last year before, we did our 52 pounds in 1 year, right? So basically, so when we talk about weight loss, we recommend that people lose about half a pound to a pound a week. Half a pound to a pound a week. And so my goal for that year was to lose 1 pound per week, right? At the upper end of that. And so I did that over the course of the year, and I reached a goal. It wasn't my ultimate weight goal, but it was my goal for that year. And so for this past year, I have been trying to maintain around that weight, right? Without pushing further, but I still have a few more pounds to go. And we're gonna do a show where we come back and we look at my fit index, and you guys will see deliberately I have not been doing that because that's something that I want us to walk through together. So we're gonna come back and look at fit index. And I'm gonna let me just do a plug for that. I have no affiliation with the Fit Index people, but it is a scale that allows you to track various metabolic markers. And so when I'm talking to patients and clients, I don't tell them to focus on the weight. Let me say that again. So I don't tell them to focus on the weight, but if you look at the metabolic markers that are in the Fit Index, and we did a show on the Fit Index app and scale. It's a scale, and basically Bluetooth to your phone. You stand on the scale, and it sends a signal through your body, and it records, of course, your weight, right? Because you're standing on the scale. It records your body mass. It records your fat mass, it records your muscle mass, it records your bone mass, it records your hydration, right? All of those things it's recording. And I have a game that I tell people to play, right, as part of our program. And the game is, we're not looking at the weight because the weight is over there. And when we focus on the weight, we sometimes get very discombobulated. So we're looking at all the other markers. And the goal is to get all the markers out of the red, right? So I think it goes from like red to like an amber color to like another color, and then it goes to green. So the goal is not even to get them all to green yet, but the goal is to get them all out of the red, right? So my body mass, my whatever, and as you're doing that, then the weight actually changes. But you're not focusing on the weight because when it says, hey, your water, the amount of water in your body is low, and you go start drinking water, when that comes out of the red, it also affects weight. So we're doing these other things over here, and by virtue of that, it is affecting weight. But anyway, so I have a few more pounds to go, but I am working on my markers, and as I'm working on those markers, they are coming now to affect the weight. So fit index. We will talk more about that actually as we get through the season, but that's one of the things that I think will help many of us. All right, and then let's see. Pamela says, hello all. Hey Pam, how are you? Hi Pam from Bowie. Hi Pam. Gian says, hi Pam. And everybody's saying hello, hello, hello. So Pam, I need to send you a message for your friend to make me some stuff. Because anyway. All right. Let's see. Yeah. So if you've not already logged into our community hangout, our community center, you want to make sure that you do that because that's where some of that conversation is going on. All right. So let's do a check-in. And my check-in has to do with how I'm feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. Remember, those check-in parameters actually align with the domains of health. The first 3 domains of health that we did: physical, mental, and emotional. We've also done the spiritual, which was the last show that we did. But these are the top 3. These are the places where people will tend to have their most difficult times. And so when I'm checking in, I want to look at these. And anytime you are making changes, anytime you're looking to be metabolically healthy or making changes in your life in other areas, these are the places that you want to be looking at. So how are you feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally? So let's go ahead and let's take a look at that here right now. So physically, this is where people will say that they feel like they are, they're tired, they're walking through mud or quicksand, or they feel like they're hitting a wall. Okay, I'm not feeling any of that right now. I did earlier today feel a little lightheaded. And I realized that I had not been doing today a good job of drinking liquids. So if you're not doing that, then you can end up feeling some of those symptoms. I'm not feeling any palpitations. And remember, palpitations will come if your body, the volume of fluid in your body, so blood, basically blood, let me say that. So if your volume goes down, your body still has to get the same amount of nutrients to your cells. And it has to take the same amount of waste away. So that doesn't change just because you're not drinking water, right? So how do you do that if you have lower volume? Well, you increase the speed. So you say, well, I don't have enough transporters to go take the oxygen there in my normal speed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them go faster. So what basically happens is the body pumps the blood faster, and because your volume is low, but it still has to fulfill the same requirements. And as a result of that, you feel that kind of like your heart's racing or skipping a beat. And those are called palpitations. When our volume is low and you stand up or you move around, all that blood is pooling to your legs, to your feet. Normally, your body has enough fluid to pump it back to the heart, which pumps it to the brain. But because your volume is low, you stand up and it takes a minute for the body to catch up. And so you feel that as lightheadedness. Okay? And so that's physically. So physically right now, I'm actually doing well. Mentally, and the mental aspect of our lives is affected by our physical. So if you're not rested, if you are tired, then you will feel sluggish. Like you just can't think, you're grasping for words. And it's not like you're drunk, intoxicated, but people who are not well rested, if you're sleep deprived, then it has been shown that your response times, your thought process is like someone who's intoxicated. Okay? And right now I'm actually feeling good because I've been rested. I'm doing a better job now of hydration, right? I'm hydrating well. And so that now plays into the third aspect of our check-in, and that is the emotional. And the emotional can be a little tricky because you can be rested and you can have good mentation, good thought process. But remember, the emotional, our emotions are a result of how we interpret the things around us, the feelings that come from our interpretation. So like somebody says something mean to you, right? Let's assume that, let's say that. Somebody says something mean to you, and the words that they say don't have meaning. Like it's not like the words come out of their mouths and hit you upside the head, right? Or hit you on the shoulder. Like they don't create any physical issue. But when we hear the words, we interpret the words and we give meaning to those words. So when somebody says something, our interpretation gives a meaning to the word. When we get a meaning to the word, we get a feeling, and that feeling leads to the emotion. So notice when the words first come out, there's nothing there. until we assign a meaning to it, and then emotion comes. And when emotion comes, of course, that emotion, that feeling drives our behavior. Our behavior drives our actions, right? Action, behavior. And then our actions ultimately drive what results from that, right? The consequence or the result that we get is a direct result of the behavior. The behavior is a result of the feeling, which is the emotion, which is a direct result of our interpretation of the thing that happened. You got that? Okay. All right. So anyway, so emotion. So you can be doing well physically, mentally, but then something happens, and emotionally, because of your interpretation, it takes you down a rabbit hole. Right now, I'm feeling pretty excited. Been a good week. We've been in this space. We've been working through our journey. We've been fasting. I'm at 53 hours. I keep saying 52, but 53 hours and counting. And my weight continues to do well. My blood sugars are doing well. My blood sugars are back in the saddle, y'all. Remember, we were struggling with blood sugars a little while ago, but they're now back where I would want them to be. And so we're going to take a look at some of those here in just a little while. All right, so that is our check-in, and of course we've already looked at blood sugars. So let's go ahead and let's hop into our discussion. And so an interesting point. So the body stores about 7 pounds. I shouldn't say grams. 7 pounds of sugar in the form of glycogen. 7. The average person eats about 70 pounds of sugar per year. 70 pounds of sugar per year. If your blood sugar is 100 on average, and that's typically the normal, is actually 70 to 99, but we're going to round up. If your blood sugar is on average 100, then that equates to about 1 teaspoon of sugar, which is 4 grams of sugar. Makes that sense so far? So 100 blood sugar of 100 is about 4 grams of sugar, which equals to 1 teaspoon. Right? Makes sense so far? All right. So if I look at the food that we eat, nutrition values for things, and I'm gonna just grab something random. I'm gonna grab a can of soda, and I'm not gonna show it to you because we're not dogging any particular soda. But if I look at a can of soda, right, the nutritional value of a can of soda, and I pull it up, it says that it has 42 grams of carbohydrates, 42 grams of sugar, 42 grams of sugar, okay? So remember, 4 grams of sugar is 1 teaspoon. So if I look at this right now, and actually, you know what? Why don't I do that? I know. So if I look at that real quick, then it is, let's see, can I do this without, yeah, why don't I do that? I want to make sure there's nothing crazy on here. And I just pulled this up at random. I'm going to say accept. Okay. Let's make that right there. Okay. So here's a can of soda. And you'll see right here, it says that it is 42 grams of carbohydrates, which is 42 grams of sugar, right? And usually the sugar and the carbs don't equal, right? In this case, it's all sugar. So 42 grams of sugar. So if 1 teaspoon is 4 grams of sugar, if you divide that, right, then by 4, right, we get how many? We get 10, roughly. I mean, we're rounding here. So we get 10 teaspoons of sugar in that 1 can of soda, right? So we're not gonna, everybody probably knows what kind of soda this is. So 10 teaspoons in one can of soda. Wow. So what does sugar do? Why is sugar such a big deal? Because, as I said, I mean, people don't tell me that they have a craving for broccoli, or they don't even tell me they have a craving for steak. Now, people say, I love a steak, but nobody ever says that they drove across town for a steak. But I'll tell you, I've gotten up, and I haven't driven across town, but I've been searching the house for something that was sweet. So how does sugar impact our metabolism? And why is it the biggest roadblock for reversing diabetes? And how is fasting one of the ultimate tools to break free from the sugar control? That's what we're going to be talking about. Okay? So I'm 53 hours into my fast. And at this point, my body has switched. My body has reached a new level of metabolic reset. What's happening in my body right now? Well, my glycogen has been used up, because that happens at 24 to 36 hours. My body it's used up all the blood, the sugar that's in the blood, it's gone to the liver, it's burned that up, and now it is in the process of burning the fat from my body and using that for energy. Right? So we've kind of used that up. And so I am in the space right now of not using sugar. Mostly not using sugar, because remember, there's still some glycerol in there that's getting converted to sugar. But sugar in the body isn't just nutrient, right? It is the thing that gives us the energy. Because remember, everything in the body, every time we eat, in order for our body to function, the food that we eat, metabolism, gets converted to energy. And the main source of energy is actually sugar, glucose, right? Another word for sugar, glucose, in the body. Well, the body only needs a certain amount. And we've just said, average blood sugar, 100, that's 1 teaspoon, 4 grams. So what do you think happens when you drink a can of soda that has 42 grams of sugar? And that is 10 times what the body needs to function. Well, sugar is not just an ingredient. It's a metabolic disruptor. It also alters your insulin resistance or insulin sensitivity. It alters your fat storage. It alters your cravings. It alters your mentation, your brain chemistry. And so how does fasting fit into that? And we've talked about the pillars of fasting, right? Or the pillars of reversing diabetes. So what's the science behind sugar and how it works? And sugar works because it hijacks the brain. Once again, it's not just about calories. It controls your hormones. It affects your brain chemistry. It affects the fat storage in ways that keep you locked into this endless cycle of craving, weight gain, and progressive diseases. So let's talk a little bit about the blood sugar roller coaster. Blood sugar roller coaster. So when you eat sugar, your blood sugar spikes. When the blood sugar spikes, that triggers the pancreas to release insulin. There's a surge of insulin that comes out. And the goal of the insulin is to bring the blood sugar back down, which is what it should do. Because we want to make sure that we don't have our body, our cells, just swimming in sugar. Insulin's job is to clear the glucose out, get it out of the bloodstream. What I ask people, though, is if the body normally has 4 grams of sugar, 1 teaspoon, and you put, just for now, and that's just 1 can, you put 40 grams of sugar in, 10 teaspoons, and the body responds by bringing insulin out, and the insulin drops the blood sugar, right? Which is what we want. And now I check your blood sugar, I check your glucose, and it's normal. It's like, man, that soda didn't even raise my blood sugar. Well, here's the question: where did the sugar go? Because you drank it, but it's not showing up in your meter. Where did it go? So insulin's job is to clear your bloodstream from sugar. But in order for it to do that, it has to take the sugar and it puts it somewhere. It has to go somewhere. It doesn't just magically poof and go away. And so insulin is in the job of trying to put it somewhere. I tell the story that when I was a kid, we lived on the third floor, of an apartment building. And there were 6 of us. Well, at the time there were 4. When we moved to the house, there were 6. And my mom and dad, they would go away to work. And they would say, clean the house. Well, being who we were, right, we weren't running around trying to clean the house because we knew they weren't coming home till later. And so we would do everything but clean the house. As a matter of fact, we eat up all the food. You come in and it looks like there was been a war or something in the house. And then they would come back home, or my mom would, come. And she never took her key, so she'd always ring the bell. Ding dong. And one of us would look out, because we opened the windows in those days. We'd look out and say, we're coming. And while one of us went down slowly, by the way, the rest of us would run around the house and try to clean up because we didn't want her to see all the mess. And when my mom showed up, the house was spotless. You could eat off the floor probably. There was nothing to be seen unless she went into a drawer or under a bed or in a closet, right? Because we took all the stuff and we just pushed it into those areas. Well, insulin's job is to clean the house so that when you look at the house, when you look at the blood, nothing's there. But where did it put it? Well, it took it and it stuffed it into places in your body, just like we did as kids, right? So insulin is smart. And when you get that surge, so you get this big spike in blood sugar that comes from the sugar, from the drink or whatever else you're eating. We're using a can of soda right now, but the same thing if you eat a cookie or candy or whatever, right? It's more than 4 grams. Let me tell you that. It's more than 4 grams of carbs. The blood sugar spikes, insulin comes out, insulin brings it down, it stuffs it all over the place. And this getting rid of it leads to energy crashes. And when you get an energy crash, that shows up as a craving. Because the body sees that as a significant drop in energy. Right? Think about it. If you're doing something at your house and the power starts to fluctuate, right? When it comes back, or power goes out, right? They tell you, plug out your stuff, turn your things on, because when that power comes back, there's that surge. Same idea here. When that blood sugar drops, your body is like, no, we don't like that. We need to go get us something to replace it. Even if the blood sugar that results is normal. So there's that surge that comes out and you get that craving. And this relates to fasting, right? How does it relate? So at 53 hours into fasting, insulin is at its lowest. You see that? Insulin, because I'm not putting anything in. This allows my body to finally burn stored fat instead of sugar. So it put it somewhere when I was eating the stuff, right? Cadbury chocolates, Doritos, those mini donuts. I'm telling you all my stuff. Hey. Right? So all the stuff that I was eating that has the high sugar, and can't even tell you right now how many carbs are in, right? How much sugar is in one of those things. So all of those are stored somewhere because the insulin put it there. And now that I am fasting, 53 hours in, there is no sugar floating around my blood. So the body has to go now and it has to get the sugar from somewhere. And what it's doing is it's breaking down the sugar that's been stored. This is why fasting is a metabolic reset. It breaks the cycle of sugar drives. It breaks that cycle of sugar and the driven storage of fat and the energy crashes. And it helps to reset your taste buds, which we'll talk about in a minute. So why is sugar an addictive kind of substance? Well, sugar is like that because it stimulates dopamine. When we talk about dopamine, dopamine is that feel-good hormone. Every time you eat sugar, it triggers a flood of dopamine. Just like those things that people talk about that are addictive, right? Alcohol, nicotine, cocaine, get the same kind of rush. As a matter of fact, they've shown when you look at brain waves and look at MRIs, the brain of someone who is eating sugar lights up similar to someone who is addicted. So you're getting kind of the same burst, right? So dopamine response every time you eat the sugar. And think about this. If I have 4 grams of sugar in my body, my entire body right now, my blood sugar is 4 grams. Right? As a matter of fact, mine is a little lower because it's 65 right now. My blood sugar, that's what's floating around in my body. If I have 4 grams of sugar in my body, make sense? Which is normal. And I take a can of soda and I drink now and I have 10 times the amount. How much dopamine do you think I'm getting? That's a lot of dopamine, right? And so the more you eat, the more you need. So over time, your body is like, well, yeah, you keep giving me that one can with the 10 times the amount of sugar, but I'm used to that now. So go get me another one. And then I get used to that. Now go get me another one. Now I'm used to that. Now go get me those 3 that you normally got me. And now let's pump it up a little bit. Let's get some ice cream. Right? So the reward keeps getting more intense. And so you need more and more and more and more to satisfy that same craving. And here's the thing, you can drink that, right? You can drink those 3 cans of soda. You can eat the piece of cake. You can eat the candy. And because your body is doing what it's supposed to do, what's the body supposed to do? It's supposed to bring that blood sugar down. So now you've eaten it, great, right? You feel great, but then the insulin comes out and it drops. And an hour later, you're like, what else can I eat? And you're like, well, I just had like 3 cans of soda, a whole candy bar, piece of cake, and I'm hungry? Well, it's not hungry, it's that craving, right? Remember we talked about the food noise? So insulin is a culprit in food noise. So what happens over time is your body down-regulates. So those receptors that accept dopamine, the body says this flood that you're giving me is too much. It's kind of like, you have a little kid and you go to a rock concert. Or I remember I took my son, we went to the Monster Machines here, the big trucks. And when we went, I forgot how old he was, him and some of his friends. And they said, hey, you need to get some headphones and put them over their ears because it was too much for them at such a young age, right? So our ears, and plus we listen to high loud music, but it would scare them. And so they gave you these headphones that you would put on. And so basically what happens is the body says, the signal that you're sending me is too much for me. And because it's too much, I'm going to put some headphones on so I don't feel it as much. And when that happens, right, because you keep drinking, you're not getting the same response anymore. And so what do? Right, you turn the volume up. You keep giving more and more and more and more and more and more and more because you're trying to get the same response. So you crave sugar constantly, not because you need it, but because your brain is demanding it. Oh. This past week, I spoke with a group and I was telling them this very point, that there are hormonal changes in our bodies that will force us to do things and behave in ways that we don't want to, even though we've decided. But you are not, I'm going to say this, some people are going to disagree with me, but I'm going to say it. You are not strong enough to overcome the hormones. When that hormone gets high enough, it's kind of like going on a roller coaster, right? And you're on the roller coaster and it's doing its thing and it gets to the top, right? It gets up here. When it's up here, you can decide all you want that you don't want to go down the other side. Like, I'm not going. I'm staying right here. You can jump, you can scream, you can shout, but guess what's going to happen? Yeah, that car is coming down the other side. So when those hormones get high enough, when the stress gets high enough, when the cortisol levels get high enough, when you drink enough soda over time and the dopamine, the desire for the dopamine gets strong enough, guess what you're going to do? Right? That goes back to the food noise. And so there are people that say to me, I wake up thinking about food. I'm thinking about food all the time, all day. And often we'll say to that person, oh, you're not strong enough. Well, it has nothing to do with being strong enough. It has everything to do with the fact that this hormone is just flooding my system. The desire is there. I've been there. And you're playing this thing in your head, right? About what the food's going to taste like, what's it going to look like, what are you going to have with it, right? You're creating this entire story. And as the story builds, right? Because remember, visualization says that as I am creating the story, the more detail, right, that I put in it, the more my brain says that is a real thing. And so now I'm playing around. It started out pretty small. Okay, I'm gonna have some, I'm gonna have some chocolate when I get off. Right? That's where it starts. Well, if I had chocolate, then maybe I can have some juice with it. Because it tastes good. And man, that would be a nice thing for dessert. And the chocolate's gonna taste so good. It's going to be nice and creamy. I wonder, am I going to get the one that has the almonds in it, or am I going to get the one that has the fruit in it? Well, the last time I got the almonds, I didn't really like that. So maybe the fruit this time. Maybe I'll get both. Do you see the story that's being developed? And the more the story is growing in your head, the more sound and sights and feel and taste and colors that you put to that story, after a while, when you get off of work, guess what? They're going to have to hold you back from getting into that store. Because the story has become so huge in your head. And here's the thing about dopamine. So dopamine, we say it is the pleasure hormone, but dopamine is actually stronger with anticipation. Because that story I just created is an anticipation, right? It is building and building and building and building until I get that thing. And when I get it, it's not as good as the story. Have you ever been somewhere and you ate something? Yeah, you went to this place, whatever it was, and you're like, man, you had something, and you go away, and that was like the best thing since sliced bread, right? And you're thinking about this thing, you're playing this thing, man, I remember when we went to that place, oh, we had that food, and it was the best food that I've ever had, and man, we're going to go back there. And you may have been gone for a year, 2 years, and finally you get back to that place, and you went to the store, to the restaurant, and you had that thing, or not even for food, it's for anything. You're like, man, we're going to go back, we can go there. And you went back, you're like, This isn't like it was last time. Right? So there's that story. So why does fasting help with that? So at 53 hours, the dopamine levels are resetting. So food is less about making the food less about addiction and more about nourishment. So at 24 to 36 hours, right? The food noise is there. Now my food noise is quiet because I've got ketones running around my body, and the ketones are making me feel full. It's sending a signal to my brain that I'm full. Ketones do that, by the way. My blood sugars are low. So if my blood sugars are low, my insulin levels are low. It would be interesting to see what my insulin levels are right now, because my blood sugar right now is 65, according to my continuous monitor. So if my insulin levels are low, then the craving that comes from the high insulin level goes away. So this is why people at this time will report that they feel better after fasting, or at this point in fasting. They're not craving because the dopamine is being normalized. Insulin is being normalized. So sugar, insulin resistance, and chronic disease, how did that play in? So sugar is directly linked to type 2 diabetes. It's directly linked to obesity and fatty liver and heart disease. Why is that? Because when the insulin takes the sugar out of your blood, it has to put it somewhere. And where does it put it? Come on, you can say it, right? So it poisons the pancreas, it poisons the liver, it poisons the heart. We're even talking now about type 3 diabetes, right? Alzheimer's disease, which is from inflammation from high blood sugars. So the average person, like I said, consumes over 70 pounds of added sugar per year. 70 pounds of sugar. So this leads to MASH, or metabolically associated steatohepatitis, which is what's called. It used to be called NASH, or non-alcoholic fatty liver. Or not NASH, but NAFLD, right? It leads to diabetes and insulin resistance. So chronically high sugars cause your cells to respond in a way that does not allow sugar to get into it. Because we are packing on the pounds, the fat cells, the cholesterol goes into the cell and it blocks the ability of insulin to allow sugar to come into the cell. Increased belly fat produces cytokines. So the belly fat produces substances that makes you more insulin resistant. Right? We thought fat was fat. So if it was here or here, it was the same as here. No, this fat is more detrimental because it produces substances that causes your body to be more insulin resistant, leading to the stuff we just talked about. And so when we fast, what we're doing is we're decreasing insulin. We're forcing the body to go to stored fat to break down, and we're resetting metabolism. We're resetting our dopamine. We're resetting our insulin. We're resetting the transport of fats throughout the body. So we're breaking that cycle. Okay. So how does fasting break the addiction, the addictive process? When they do studies, they find that people are just as interested in sugar as they are in other things that may be as addictive. As a matter of fact, when they did a study, and these were rats, mice, and one side had sugar water, and one side had, I think it was cocaine or some one of those substances in a bottle. Okay, so on either side, and the side that had the sugar water had an electrified floor. So you step on the floor and you get a shock. And the question was, where would the mice go? And do you know that the mice prefer to get shocked so that they can get the sugar rather than get the cocaine? Isn't that crazy? That is incredible. That shows how addictive it can be. So why does fasting, and we're talking about 53 hours in, right? Why 53 hours of fasting is a game changer? Why is it a game changer? Well, insulin is at its lowest, right? Because my blood sugar is 65, so there should be no insulin or near no insulin floating around. And this allows the body to tap into fat stores. Because remember, if insulin is there, then we can't go into ketosis. As long as insulin is high, ketosis stays away. And ketosis is a process that happens after we're breaking down fat stores. So because insulin level goes down, because sugar's gone down, because I'm not eating, boom. Right? So I'm burning fat. Hunger hormones stabilize. Because insulin goes down, it no longer disrupts. Remember ghrelin and leptin, right? When insulin is high, it disrupts those hormones. So they're no longer being disrupted. So my hunger stabilizes. Ketones are being produced. And the ketones are a stable source of energy. Remember that spike that we get because your blood sugar goes up and the insulin comes out and it causes it to crash? We don't get that crash anymore because we have a stable source of energy. So we're not getting those crashes. Autophagy kicks in. And autophagy is clearing out damaged cells. We're regenerating the body. The body is in a better state. All of that comes from fasting. And it's resetting the whole system. So that when people come out of a fast, they say, and I say, that aside from, and here's the kicker, right? Aside from the fact that my brain sometimes will convince me that because I didn't have it during the fast, that I should go get some, or I'm not going to get any more because I'm about to start a fast. Aside from that, my system is reset. And so it is a mental thing that I've got to deal with. Because the fasting resets my taste buds. And the cravings have gone down. And sometimes when I eat food after a fast, it tastes sweeter than before the fast. But it is said that in order to reset our palates, our taste buds, it takes 15 days. In fact, a couple of years ago, we did a 15-day sugar buster challenge. 15 days, because that's what it takes. Fasting resets that faster. Doesn't take 15 days. This is because fasting resets dopamine receptors, fasting lowers insulin, fasting decreases sugar, fasting causes ketones to be produced, and that milieu, that combination of things causes you to change. You stop craving the sugar. So why then do people still crave? Why then do people still have those issues? Because it's all about the mentation. The body at that point, the body has been reset, but the mind is still used to it. And that's why it's important to deal with the pillars of health, right? We talk about the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the intellectual, the social. All of that has to come into play. All of that has to be working together. Because if not, we can reset the body. We can reset the body, reset the dopamine, the insulin levels are down, the blood sugar is good. But if we've not changed the driving force, then we now fall right back into the trap. And so as we're fasting, as we are using this tool to reset our body, we also have to be sure that we're doing the other things we've got to do. When I put people on things like Mounjaro or Ozempic, which are medications that are used for blood sugar, right? These are diabetes medications. They also get the benefit of weight loss. And I tell them that we are not planning to do the medication in isolation. What does that mean? That means that we're not just putting you on the medication and sending you away and say, come back in 3 months. We're putting you on the medication and we're saying to you, I'm going to see you back in 4 to 6 weeks. Because in addition to the medication that's fixing the appetite, right, suppressing the appetite, we also have to do some work up here. Why was I eating? What was causing the craving? What caused me to like those Cadbury's? It's not that they're just sweet. There is that, right? But I can do that with my fasting. I can do that with some other things. But what now is driving it? And what's driving it is the interpretation that I've put onto events that are happening around me. And so that we have to deal with as well. So sugar. So that's why sugar is such a big part. It plays such a big part in our metabolism. So how do we reduce sugar for long-term success? Number one, we got to learn to identify hidden sugars. And we'll come back and we'll do more conversations about that as well. So sugar, it's often hidden, is disguised. They call it all kinds of things, right? Corn syrup, maltodextrin, fructose, dextrose, galactose, cane juice, agave. So all these names, and you're looking, it says, you're like, well, it doesn't have any sugar in it. Well, it's right there, but it's called something else. So one, we got to learn to identify hidden sugars. And then we have to balance blood sugars with the foods that we eat. So balanced bites, right? So when we talk about balanced bites, we say we want to balance proteins and fats, right? So healthy proteins, lean proteins, healthy fats. Eating healthy fats and protein, avocados, eggs, salmon, nuts, they help to stabilize the blood sugar. Having enough fiber, the fiber blunts the absorption. It prevents you from getting that big spike in sugar. And then using fasting as a tool to reset your metabolism, to reset your palate, reset the dopamine, help you with the cravings. So intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting, 1 meal a day, all of those will help. And if you pair them, if you pair those things, those tools, with dealing with the domains of health as we walk through the limitless living pathway, man, that right there is gold. So right now, my body is thriving without sugar. Boom, there it is. Thriving without sugar, 66, my blood sugar. My energy is steady. My cravings are not there. This is what I want to experience. This is what I want us to experience. So coming up tomorrow, we'll be talking about a complete fasting review. How do we prepare for a fast? How do we get through a fast successfully? And how do we break the fast? So sugar is the biggest barrier to metabolic health for lots of us. Fasting can help that. At 52, 53 hours, almost 54 now, I'm feeling the full effects of metabolic healing. And this is what limitless living is all about. It is about putting yourself in a space where your body begins to work, where the cravings are improved, where you get freedom from disease, and you get to fully control your health. Now, one of the questions that people ask me all the time is, how long does it take? And that's a conversation for another time. Because it took a while to get here, and it does not happen overnight. But as soon as you can, you want to get on the pathway. You want to get on the pathway to make these deep, powerful changes in your life so that you can be successful and we can go to reverse our diabetes and improve our metabolic health. Awesome. All right. Let's see. I think I saw some folks out there. I heard some comments coming through. And let's jump over. So Jennifer, I think Jennifer was saying, just jumping on quick, but another channel is live too. So Jennifer, we know that Jennifer is an ardent member in many places. So thank you for stopping through. Gianna saying, hi Jennifer. Gianna said, I think I focus more on mental, what is causing me to eat. Well, that's good. For resetting all things, how long it takes, at least hours to reset hormone dopamine. So the dopamine actually gets regulated pretty quickly, right? So it drops down. What is more difficult is, you guys remember, as we've been fasting, when you first start fasting, it takes you longer to get into ketosis, right? Because your body's not used to that. But as you fast and you get more adept at fasting, your body begins to adapt. And when it begins to adapt, you start fasting, and it almost, depending on what you do, by the way, depending on how you prepare, like if you drank, 5 cans of soda with the 42 grams of sugar, when you get into the fast, it's not going to be like that. It's going to take a while to get through all of that sugar. And during that time, you're going to have, the cravings are going to be incredible. So that's why preparing for the fast is very, very important. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at my blood sugars, and then we'll come back and look at my ketones really quickly. And of course, because I've been talking, it logged me out. So let's take a look at that. And this is my Dexcom Clarity Report. And you'll see there, for the last 14 days, my average blood sugar is 119. My glucose management indicator is 6.2. So that means that if I were to get an A1C right now, it would approximate 6.2. I can't say it as an A1C because it's a calculation, but that's what it should be. And then I am in target 86% of the time, right there. And my target is 70 to 180. If I look at my blood sugars over the course of the last several days, you'll see for most of today, we've actually been running below 70, right? So we popped up above 70 a few times, but for the most part, we've been running below 70. And we're going to see what my ketones are here in just a minute. And that excites me, right? Because right now, blood sugar is low. And if those ketones are high, that means my body is in the process of using fat for energy. And that's why my ketones would be up. And people say, don't you feel that? And I don't feel this because my body is using a different source of energy, right? So if I go, let me see, what was the highest that it's been today? Let's see, here's a 68. I think that, was it 68? 67. All right, 67 is the highest. Actually, no, I think I see, yeah, here it is. Here's an 80. Right, so 80, 82. 86. Okay, there it is. So 86 is the highest. And so remember that the amount of sugar that's in your body is the normal is 70 to 99. So 70 to 99 is 4 teaspoons, not 4 grams of sugar, 1 teaspoon of sugar. So right now, that blood sugar is actually less than a teaspoon. Less than 1 teaspoon. And then if we kind of scroll back, we'll see what the blood sugar was last night. And so 70s to 90s. And then the day before that. Right. So I started fasting. So let's see, right here, this would be 48 hours. Right about there. And if I go back 24 hours, right about there. And then 0 hours would be here. Okay. So before this is where I was eating. And so that day, it looks like the highest blood sugar got up to about 146. And then we started eating right here when the blood sugar was about 86. And then, of course, we saw what it was going forward. But let's go backwards. So how about 24 hours before I started my fast? Right. So we've been running in the 100s. 110s, 115s, 120s, and this got up, I think got up to 200 right here. All right, so that's about 8 grams of sugar. And 24 hours, so 48 hours before I started my fast, so we're in the 120s. We actually dipped down here to 86. And now 72 hours before I started my fast, I'm in the 1-teens, right? And so leading into the end of that day. So I was doing one meal a day, and that's what you see here, by the way. So, because I was doing one meal a day, so I would eat like maybe here somewhere, and the result showed up the next morning, right? So here I was eating, and the result of that, let me do it this way. So I was eating. This is the night. So this is the night before, and I was eating there, and then the result showed up the next morning. Right. Same thing here. I'm eating here, and the result showed up the next morning, and then I'm eating here, and the result showed up the next morning. Okay. So that's what you're seeing. All right. So let's go ahead now and let's take a look at what my ketones are. And so let me get my Keto Mojo. That's my meter. And let's see. Let's get do I have the app up? No. So let's do this. Let's get it up first. Boom. All right, here it is. Keto Mojo. Okay, here's my Keto Mojo app. And then let's go ahead and I'm going to turn this on. And go ahead and sync the app. And drum roll, please. I think Gian said, did you say point? No, you said 2.0, I think, Gian. So drum roll, please. And let's come to this view. Oops. Yeah, and so you'll see there blood sugar of 65 and ketones of 2.5. 2.5, right? So ketones that are less than 0.5 considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. So right now I'm above the nutritional, so I'm in the therapeutic ketosis range, which is to be expected because I've been fasting for 50 plus hours, right? 53 hours. And so we'll see what that number is tomorrow as we move into this closer to 72 hours. Awesome. All right. Remember, everyone, that our platform is the Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. Educate, empower, encourage. We educate with the podcast, with the shows, with the blogs. We empower with the tools, like fasting is a tool that we're using. Balanced Bites is a tools that we're using. All of those are the walking that we're doing. 100-day walk to consistency is a tool. All of these are to give you the power to be able to move through this journey. And then we encourage with the community that we are part of, that we are building, that you are a part of. So we educate, we empower, we encourage. I encourage you to, when you come, don't just let this stuff be theory, but make sure you are applying it to your life on a daily basis, right? So fasting, right? Everyone, I think, can fast unless there's a medical reason. And I tell people that you want to work your way up to a 24-hour fast at least once a week. 24-hour fast once a week. That allows you to reset your body. It resets your taste buds. It improves your insulin resistance. And it quiets the food noise because it helps with that dopamine burst. Those sugar cravings that we just talked about, yeah, fasting will help with that as well. Okay? And then there are over 1 billion people on the planet, over 1 billion that are now diabetic or pre-diabetic. And you can be a voice for change. You can be a voice that says, hey, we don't have to go out like this. We don't have to keep having heart attacks. We don't have to keep having strokes. We don't have to keep going blind, be on dialysis, lose limbs. We don't have to keep having these issues. We can learn. We can be better. We can create the life we've always wanted. And that is the premise of limitless living. It says that we are breaking free of all of those boundaries, right? We're not allowing them to hinder us. But thank you for joining me. We will be back tomorrow as we do our check-in, as we move to 72 hours. On Saturday night at 9 o'clock, we'll be here for video from the vault. And then on Sunday morning, 6 a.m., we'll be right back for This Week in Review. Remember, on this Monday, for Dwain Woode MD Live, it will not be a live show, but we'll have something here in this space for you. And likewise, the Monday after, so the next 2 Mondays won't be live, but we'll have something in this space for you. Make sure you come on. Make sure you engage. If you're not in the membership yet, make sure you do that, because that allows us to come alongside each other and to support each other as we move through this space. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, we're living limitlessly. Limitless living says that we are not allowing anything to hinder us. We're breaking free from those constraints. We're presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plan for our life. Nothing from outside of us or nothing from inside is going to prevent us from doing what we need to do to be metabolically healthy and to reverse our diabetes. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you at our next show. Good night.